All right. What's up, everyone? How's it going, guys? Welcome in. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, guys. Just wanted to hop on and do a little spontaneous live Q&A. I said I was going to be doing these every week, so we're hopping on. All right, we'll give everyone just like a minute to join here. What's up, guys? Welcome in. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat, and then I will get to it. Hello, everyone. Welcome in, guys. All right, I said I was gonna do one of these once a week, so we're hopping on. I've got a little bit of time here. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and then I will do my best to be helpful. So Coach John is inside the community. He said that he just got back from a snowflake festival in the Uptown Business District with his dog Chewy. Said he did very well in a very hectic environment. Have a couple short clips we'll post in the community tomorrow. Awesome, John. Can't wait to see that. John is he's in like week 5 of the training program. So they're in the middle of proofing right now. And so John's been taking his dog Chewy out to some really high distraction environments just to stress test the training essentially. And so I look forward to seeing it, John. All right, Janice said, oh my gosh, hi, I always miss these. Finally joined one. Welcome in. What's up, guys? Hi from Northern Ireland. Hello. Melbourne, Australia. Nice. You are awesome. Thanks for all the videos. How can I improve my dog's attention? It is good, but I want to improve to great. I like to reframe it a little bit for you. What you need is not necessarily attention. What you probably want is you want a dog who just listens, right? And so if it's listens that you're looking for, then you need to find where it falls apart. And then wherever it falls apart is a sign where you need to train. And so if you notice that it's when we're at the park across the street, that's when it falls apart. That's where you need to train, right? And so you just identify where it falls apart and then you attack it. Landon said, my last question on the last live chat was about dominance. What would you do? Ask it again. I don't remember. Hey, my dog is reactive but off leash. I saw your 2-hour reactivity video, but the other day my dog met another dog nose to nose and decided to attack the other dog. That's not good. Your dog's not ready to be off leash. Janice said, what do you recommend I do if one of my dog is super dominant and my other one is extremely submissive? My Dobie dominant is randomly super mean to my golden retriever, especially during playtime. Well, the playtime kind of threw me off a little bit. I would need more context, right? There's a lot of things that it could be, and sometimes people think behaviors look a little bit worse during play than they actually are. So, I mean, there's more context that I need, right? I'm not 100% confident I can give you a helpful answer. But if your Doberman is, let's say, doing things to your golden retriever that your golden retriever does not like, and your golden retriever is actively trying to get the Doberman to stop doing those things, yet your Doberman keeps doing those things, then that's a sign that you need to step in and set that boundary on your golden's behalf. Does that make sense? So your golden was trying to set the boundary potentially, but just was unable to communicate what they wanted. And so that's a sign that you might need to step in. And then let them interact again and then see what happens or see what changes, right? Now, if your golden retriever is always going back to play with your Doberman and you think it's bad, but your golden retriever clearly doesn't think it's bad, then it's probably not a problem. It might just be your perception of it. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if that's super helpful, but about my reactive dog off leash, he attacked the other dog because I recall him and stim. When I stim, he decided to attack. Okay, I get what you mean. Did he put holes in the other dog? Like, did he bite the other dog? If so, I probably wouldn't use the word attack. So what I would typically do with a dog like that is I will do more work on a flexi leash. So a flexi leash I'll usually attach it to a dominant dog collar. So it's like a really thin slip leash that goes above their e-collar. And then I'll practice having them interact with dogs that we pass by on the walk. So this is assuming I have absolute rock solid bomb-proof like obedience. I mean like bomb-proof obedience, right? If I don't have that, then I'm not even gonna be doing this at this point, right? And so, yeah, and then what I'll do is I'll practice walking past other dogs. I'll practice him interacting with other dogs, calling him off those dogs with the safety line of a leash attached to a dominant dog collar. And then if I call him off and he doesn't come, the level that I need to come in at needs to be sufficiently aversive to where he does not redirect that onto the other dog and just lunge at him or start barking at the other dog or whatever. He completes the recall. So I come in really high when I recall him off. But then what I want to do basically is I want to test the training and make sure that he can interact with other dogs without going off, and he can learn how to call off other dogs as well. But I'll do that on a leash first. My dog knows what to do, but he's a teenager. He knows I want him to walk next to me. He slowly goes forward until at the end of the long leash, he comes back to me and off again. Well, what do you want him to do? I don't know what you want him to do. It's not clear to me that you are 100% sure of what you want him to do either. You said that he knows I want him to walk next to me, but slowly goes forward until the end of the long leash. Then he comes back to me and off and on again. So what's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with that? Not pulling. Okay, well, if you don't want him to pull, is he pulling? It doesn't sound like it, right? So if he's within that criteria and he's just like walking forward, hitting the end of the leash and then coming off, and then coming back to you, and then walking forward, hitting the end of the leash and then coming off. Is he pulling? Doesn't sound like it. So it sounds like he's doing exactly what you want, right? If he is pulling, then you need to punish the pulling. You need to increase the pressure substantially, right? A little bit, testing you. Well, that sounds like a you problem then. It doesn't sound like a him problem, right? It sounds like you haven't communicated that boundary to him clearly yet. If you did, then he wouldn't do it. And so it's never like always be very careful when you look to point at the dog for why they're doing this thing. Usually not usually, every time the dog is doing something, it's because there's a clear reason why they're doing it. There's an incentive structure that's incentivizing them to do that thing. And so if you don't want him to pull, don't let him pull. If he's ping-ponging around, that's technically within criteria, right? Has nothing to do with him being a teenager or anything like that. Hey, dude, thanks for what you do. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. This is a follow-up to the play question. So like today, we took them out for a playtime together in the fence yard. As soon as they run into the yard, when they take off the leashes, the Dobie immediately runs into, okay, I'm guessing runs into her, I'm assuming. Open source dog training, can a 2-year-old reactive dog learn off-leash reliability, or has that window possibly closed? No, yeah, you can teach any dog, you know. They could be 12 years old and reactive. It doesn't matter. Like the age thing is like legitimately irrelevant. Yeah, like we've got one dog in the community. His owner's name is Graham, and his dog Teddy, he's a border collie. His dog Teddy has been reactive and aggressive towards humans for, I think, 13 years. 13 years, I want you to think about that. He's like bit people. He hasn't allowed anybody to touch him in 13 years, I think. 12 or 13 years, I don't remember. That's a long fucking time. But Graham just recently, he joined the program recently, and he's been making great strides in the training. And he just posted this update the other day where he had a friend over at his house and Teddy cuddled up next to him and slept by him. and that's only possible because of the training that Graham's done up to that point. But yeah, it's 100% possible. Any dog, like, the age thing is irrelevant. Now, just to be clear though, if a dog has had that long engaging in the behavior, it's probably going to take longer to change the behavior than it would if you were working with like a, 8-month-old dog or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah. How do you deal with the dog that comes running towards your dominant dog? I just release my dog, so like for example, it depends. Like if you're talking about off leash dogs running up to you guys, like when I had Arrow, when Arrow was living with me, whenever a dog would run up to him, I just release him. Okay, Brick. I just release him and let him handle the situation. He's gonna handle the situation, bro. He's like, 125 pounds, very confident dog. Like, I don't, like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna release him and let him do his thing. And if that other dog tries some shit, then it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all it is. So I just release him. Indy says, for some reason, my girl gets super reactive whilst in the car. She behaves really well under all other circumstances, heels off leash, great recall, etc. But in the car, she can go berserk. Perfect. It sounds like you've identified a very specific context in which she's offering these various behaviors, right? Probably like, excessive whining in the car, maybe barking out the window if she sees dogs or people or whatever. So that's just a specific context that you can work within. And so if she's trained on the e-collar, that's the easiest way to modify the behavior when she's in the car, right? If you need to implement some degree of management, then you can crate her while she's in the car, because then it'll just prevent all those things from happening altogether. But if you want to just address it head on, I'll typically use the e-collar to punish any unwanted behaviors. Janeth asks, my Golden, he literally throws him on the ground and tackles him. The Golden does nothing and just lets him do whatever to him. He bites him for no reason, LOL, but the Golden never corrects him. Well, does the Golden keep going back? It's frustrating because the Golden gets stressed, and even when I do step in to correct the Dobie, he just does it again minutes later. Okay, so yeah, if your Golden doesn't like it, if he likes it, then he'll keep coming back for more, right? And when you say biting, that's just how dogs play typically. Like, they just bite each other's faces, that's just how it is. And so, again, without a video, it's really impossible for me to say what's happening. But if your Golden does not like what the Doberman is doing and is like trying to get away from the Doberman, then that's a sign that you need to step in. And if you step in and attempt to correct the behavior, and then your Dobie does it again just minutes later, that's an obvious indication that the consequence you implemented was not nearly aversive enough, right? So you need to escalate the consequence until the Doberman gets the idea that he should absolutely not do that, right? Is it okay to punish if your dog is fixating on other dogs, huffing, hair up, staring at other dogs, or is it okay as long as they aren't acting, not lunging, etc.? Yeah, as long as they're not acting. If you punish them for looking at other dogs, there's no guarantee your dog is going to know what you're punishing them for. Likely your dog is just going to be confused. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Was it because I was looking? Was it because the other dog was looking at me? Was it because was it because the other dog barked at me? Was it because we were too close to the other dog? Like, you see, now the dog is going to make the complete wrong association. You just wanted them to know, like, dude, don't lunge at the other dog. And then after that, if the dog still has this big emotional reaction, then you need to move into desensitization. Get them on a longer leash. So usually, like, what I'll do, just for anybody watching this, usually what I'll do after I correct the big obvious reaction is, then what I'll do next is I'll give the dog more freedom, actually. So I'll actually release them. I'll maybe even have them on a longer leash around the other dogs, and I'll see if the boundary still holds up. So does the dog still know that reacting is not an option, even in this context? Do they know it? I want to make that picture very clear first. So eliminate the option of reacting. Now that you've done that, the dog still has this big emotional reaction. Here's what I'll do. It depends on the dog what I'll do. So The first thing that I'll do is I'll do nothing. Literally just nothing. So I'll just walk around on a loose leash, on a long line, whatever, and we'll just walk past a bunch of dogs. And the dog, now that you've eliminated the option of reacting, what are they gonna do now? What are they gonna do? So maybe they have this big emotional reaction. I don't know about this. Goes to sniffing the environment. Just redirects all that arousal to the environment. Sniffing the environment. Simple. Maybe they check in with you. Okay, cool. Right? Maybe they look at the dog. I don't know about this. And they pass and, oh my gosh, big assignment. And then, okay. And then they pass another one and another one and another one and another one. And you just see it decrease. And you don't even have to do anything. You just walk. So that's the first thing I'll do is just nothing. The next thing I'll do is I'll do something. So if the dog is really motivated to play or they're really motivated to work for their food, then I'll start doing an activity around the other dog with me. So the dog is deriving all of this reinforcement from me instead of from reacting at the other dog as previously. So that's the next thing that I'll do. Yeah. Depends on the dog. It depends on the dog though, but that's generally it. The next thing that I'll do too, if your dog is like super aroused, it doesn't sound like your dog is super aroused, but I'll come in with obedience to cap their arousal. That's like what I did a lot with Arrow. Recently found your channel. I appreciate how well structured it is and how clearly you explain what you do. Thank you. From Japan. Nice. I appreciate that. I'm glad it's helpful. Janice says, my Golden has confidence issues, to be honest. He's scared of everything, so it makes sense he doesn't correct the Dobie. If the Dobie runs up to him, he'll just lay down on the floor. Yeah, tell your Dobie to knock it off. How do you train a dog out of scavenging for dangerous things to eat while off leash? You punish it. So I'll punish it with the e-collar. So when I see the dog go to pick something up that they shouldn't, I'll just tap. Consequence came from the thing on the floor, not from me. Please look at my question. Ask it. I don't know what your question is. All right. Any other questions? Feel free to throw it in the chat, guys. I do want to pull up something kind of interesting now that we're coming into winter time. So a lot of people ask sometimes, like, training wise, how do you train a dog if you live in like a very rural area? Or how do you, they ask like, I live in a very rural area, really quiet area, not a lot of distractions. How do I proof my training? Or they say like, oh, it's winter time right now. Nobody's outside. How do I proof my training, right? And I want to give you this example because it's a kind of an interesting point and I think it's suitable going into winter time now. And this actually reminds me of last year when I was at a Larry Crone seminar. Somebody asked Larry at the seminar, they were like, somebody in the audience asked they were like, Larry, how often do you train, or like what environments do you typically train in, right? And Larry gave a very surprising answer. It caught me by surprise. He said, 90+% of all the training is done in low distraction environments. I thought that was very interesting. All of his training, 90+% of it is done in his backyard, his house, his quiet neighborhood. 90+%. Only like 5 to 10% is done in an actually high distraction environment, out in public, at the park, and so on, right? I thought that was very interesting. And the reason I thought that was interesting is because it challenged what I believe to be true about training. I thought that, you had to train a lot in these high distraction environments to really get it durable, right? But Larry obviously proved me wrong. And so I thought that was very interesting. And then after that, so that was like a couple of years ago now, right? And so after that, I kind of, shifted my beliefs a little bit. And here's a very good example of that. So this is Rune. She's inside the community, but she lives in a very rural area, right? Like really nice rural area, access to tons of woods and like trails and stuff like that, like not a busy area at all, right? And so Before the training, when she joined, Dallas was, super reactive towards other dogs. She got in several fights. It was just like really intense, right? And she did a lot of work with her and all that. And then eventually she joined the program. And one of the questions she had at some point in the training was, when she got to the later stages, was how should she go out and like start proofing everything, right? And I said not to worry about it. I was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just continue living your life in your quiet environment. Because if you have a strong foundation with your dog, like a truly strong foundation, when you take your dog to a completely new environment that they've never been into before, they're going to fall back to that foundation. So even though it might not be totally perfect and you might have little things that you need to address, they're going to fall back to that foundation that you built in your low distraction environment. And so I basically said not to worry about it. And then she ended up going on I don't know if, I think it was a road trip where she was gone, and she was basically out for like 3 weeks out in Philly and stuff, and just like out in the middle of the city. And she ended up taking a graduation video while she was at it. And I want you to take a look because this is like pretty interesting. So during the trip that they went on, this is her first time like in this type of like city busy environment, right? And Dallas, she's naturally kind of a nervous type dog. Like she just gets a little nervy, gets a little fidgety, especially like with the loud noises, the trucks, the buses, like it stresses her out a bit, right? And so just to give you some context here, like this is her typical like type environment, just like quiet woods, very ideal conditions, But this is the video, this is the environment that they were working in like on the trip, And they were doing this for like, and so this is her first time in this environment. And so the reason I wanted to bring this up, guys, is because going into winter time, I've seen a lot of you guys comment this on our videos, but build the foundations in your low distraction environments first. Because when you take the dog to these environments, it's things they've never seen before, like what the heck is this? She's never seen this in the woods. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I would say don't neglect the importance or the power of training in low distraction environments. Thought that was interesting. I'll let this keep playing. Let's see here. Do you ever deal with imposter syndrome as a trainer? If so, how do you cope with it? Imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is like, doubt their own skills, talents, and accomplishment, fearing they're frauds and will be found out despite external evidence of their success. I mean, I think so. I think it's a good driving force to want to get better, though. Right? Yeah, like I remember talking a lot about Larry in this live, but I remember when I was at the Larry Crone seminar. Larry's obviously a fantastic, phenomenal trainer if you guys know him. But at the seminar, he was like very, very, very adamant. He was like he opens the seminar with, I am not the best trainer. I barely know anything. There are so many people way better than me. I don't even know why you guys are here. I'm going to do my best to help you all, but just know I'm not the best trainer out there. Like that's literally how he opens the seminar. And he like hits that a lot throughout the seminar, right? And so I think like I think like recognizing that there's probably a lot of things that you don't know is a driving force to get better, I think. Can a versus be used at any age? I am flat collar, leash training a 4-month-old border collie. When he gets distracted, I struggle to get his attention with the flat collar and I worry about correcting harder. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? It depends on what your goal is, like for the individual session or whatnot. So, like typically, if I'm working with, if like you dropped a 4-month-old border collie at my house today, I can tell you what I would do. I'm putting him on a flat collar, a flexi leash. I'm putting a toy in my back pocket, and we're going to Zilker. Like that's what the park does near us, right? That would be like literally the first thing I would do, right? I wouldn't care about anything else. Like that's all I'm gonna do. We're gonna go to the park and we're gonna play. And if he gets distracted, I'm gonna redirect him with the toy, right? And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. What are some of the pros and cons on your reactivity method fix versus someone like Malka Ellis? Why doesn't he punish the reaction but avoids punishment and instead works on getting engagement before the dog reacts? To be honest, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like I just don't understand it. Like I understand it, but I don't know why I would do that. Like if my goal is this, like what you see in the videos, like a dog who can just walk around off a leash, past dogs, past people, no reaction, because they know reacting obviously leads to bad things. Like if that's the goal, why wouldn't I just be direct and clear in my communication and be like, hey, this is what I don't want you to do, and here is what I do want you to do. And that's it. And just be as directly clear as possible. And that's it. And so to me, it just makes more sense to be clear, you know? How many people are in your community right now? I think we've got like over 800. And if you guys watching want to join, feel free to click the link. If this is the type of training you want. If you do not want this type of training, absolutely do not join the community. It's not for you. But if you want a dog like this, so you can just walk around, and keep in mind, this is their first time in this type of busy environment, first time ever. And so, like I said, she usually like just she's a rule type of gal. When I go take my dog for a ride, he lays down on his back and I have to wrestle to get his leash on. Any idea why he does that? He also gets so crazy around people he can't control himself. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty simple boundary you can fix. So if he gets crazy, like or if he starts laying down when you try to put the leash on, that's pretty simple. I can tell you what I would do. So you can either send him to his place or you can call him over to you and put him in a sit. So I do one of those. And then when he tries to go and lay on his back or whatever, or roll around or try biting your hands or whatever he does, then I will grab him firmly by the collar and put him back into the position. So into a sit or onto his place command. And then I'll clip it on like normal. And then once it's on, good. Okay. And then I'll release him and then we go on our walk. What would you do first? Play or food schedule? Play or fixed food schedule. My friend has a dog I'm helping with. My family just places the food down and eats whenever. Free food. Anxious, fearful doodle. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to free feed. But if the dog is like, first thing I'm doing is I'm implementing structure in the house. So it's the same with any dog, really. I implement some good structure in the house. And then what I do is I play with the dog. That's like first things. And then after that, once I've got that, then I start introducing some obedience, you know? And that's pretty much it. It's the same process for any type dog for me. I train the same. How do you deal with street dogs? I live in Ecuador where there's a bunch of street dogs. They bark at my dog, but then they get quiet and come smell him and he doesn't like it. Yeah, street dogs are hard. I mean, carry like a stick or something to keep you guys safe just in case. But yeah, I mean, there's no perfect answer. Like they're just out, So is that dog simply afraid of making a mistake? No, this is genetic, like what you see here, right? So this is like that genetic like insecurity that you can see like in the dog if you understand dogs and body language. That was what was driving all of these behavioral problems in the first place, right? So, she's lunging, barking, fighting other dogs, like all of that stems from that lack of security, the lack of confidence that she has in herself. And so when you go through the training, basically what you're doing is you're deliberately putting her in more and more stressful situations to build her confidence and build her resilience, right? And then keep in mind, this is their regular environment, right? So this is like, this is what her typical life is, you know what I mean? And so here, right, you can see she's in a completely different emotional state. It's because the environment doesn't put a lot of pressure on her, right? It's very normal. But here, this is her first time in this environment. So she's not adequately prepared to cope with it. But you can see here how she does cope with it though, right? She doesn't completely fall apart. She doesn't shatter under the pressure. She doesn't start losing it, get so stressed out and break obedience and all that stuff. You see what I mean? And so, yeah. And it was pretty interesting, like when, here, I can find her other post. So like here was her initial post, right? Basically asking like, okay, this is our first time going into the city, she can get a little stressed out in the city, especially all the loud noises and stuff. And so like, how do I prepare for it, right? This is her usual environment, just for context. And so, yeah, everybody in the community came in, gave some great tips. Elizabeth was in a similar situation, gave some great tips in here. But yeah, so basically she went through and she updated everything. And she just kind of like made updates like along the way, which is really cool. Because what was surprising is she handled it a lot better than everybody thought she was going to, including Rune, including me too. I thought she was going to be a little bit more stressed in these types of environments, just because they're so intense and just the type of dog she is, right? But she handled it very well. And that's the cool thing, is like when you put the dog in that unfamiliar, stressful situation, they fall back to that foundation. And in this case, in this situation, that foundation is the foundation that Rune built in those low distraction environments, right? And so I just thought that was really cool. Do you do board and trains? Not right now, no. How do you stop a dog from jumping on people? You punish it. So something bad happens when they jump on people. It can be with anything. It can be with your voice. It can be with the leash, with the collar. It can be with literally anything. Just something bad happens when they jump on people, and then they learn to not do it. What would you do if the dog from the video is in a down state, then a random dog comes out to smell her and she reacts? How would that be considered a reactive dog? How would you correct that? So it depends. Like, for instance, if I'm out with a dog and I have my dog in a down, and then some dog just out of nowhere jumps out of a car window, charging at our dog full speed, and like my dog is just sitting there in a down, and then I'm like, what the fuck? And my dog is like, what the fuck? And then my dog gets up out of the down, woo, trying to keep the other dog away. That to me sounds pretty acceptable. You know what I'm saying? You get what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying. The context is very important. Versus if my dog is in a down and like a nice little calm doodle is just like, a nice little senior golden retriever is just out for a walk, and they're like, oh, hello, little dog over there. And then my dog breaks the down and like gets in the golden retriever's face. It's like, okay, that was not acceptable. You see what I mean? And so the context is very important here. But yeah, so it depends. It depends. Like in the first example, totally fine, warranted. I'm also going to be reactive toward that other dog. Get that other dog away. What are you doing? And then for that second example, unacceptable. Why did you break the down in that case, right? But most situations, if an off-leash dog is approaching, I will release the dog from obedience. That way you're not like handcuffing them. You're not like handcuffing them before the interaction. Like that doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people do that though for some reason. Like a dog is approaching you, and instead of just releasing the dog, you're like, heel, 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 sit, 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 down, down, down. And like the dog is like coming over to you guys. Just release him. Why are you handcuffing the dog? Doesn't make any sense. Let him be. How to combat excessive panting on car journeys? My Malinois pants like crazy in the car and doesn't settle at all. Crate can help. There's no like perfect answer to this. Some dogs get a little anxious in the crate, but a crate can help though. Especially if you have like a what's the word? The Ruffland crates that are hard on the sides, so it's kind of dark inside. Crate train them in that crate inside the house first. And then once they're comfortable in there, then bring it to the car. They'll still be a little anxious, but you'll see a reduction. How would you transition a dog from feeding to routine mealtime? How much time will you give them to eat? I feed routine, but helping a friend who has their dog free food lifestyle. Yeah, it's very simple, you know? You just pick a time, feed the dog, and then if they don't want to eat after 5 minutes, take the food away. That's it. And then you just do that every day. So it's very, very simple. You just have to commit to it. That's it. Please make your course available to pay monthly. Start a trial and then send me a DM and I can send you a payment option. Like you can split it through like, Afterpay or Klarna or Affirm or something like that. And then you can select whatever payment works best for you. It only works for people in the United States though. My dog got in a fight with another dog that came charging at him. Since then, he started whining every time he sees another dog. My dog hurt the other dog on that fight, by the way. All right. Well, what's the question? All right. Any other questions, guys? Last chance. I've got a few things I need to do after this. How do I fix the whining? Oh, the whining. What I'll do is have the dog on a long line, and when you pass by another dog, just release him. That's it. Don't let him go up to the other dog, but just release him and see what he does. See if he reacts. See if he doesn't. See what he does after. See how fast he recovers. See if it decreases over time just by doing nothing. Just see. And then that will inform what you need to do next. Jorge Adams in the chat. Jorge, what's up? Does the whining mean he's becoming reactive? Not necessarily. Fill the application 2 weeks ago. Click the link that's pinned to this live. All right. How to make the healing more precise? Always negative reinforcement. Your negative reinforcement needs to be more precise. So just a little reframe of the problem, right? So it's never the dog's position is not the thing that's imprecise, right? So when people say like, oh, my dog is like sloppy in the heel position, or maybe he drifts forward or just out wide, how do I make it less sloppy in the heel position? It's never that. It's always your application and release of pressure is sloppy, right? You're adding the pressure at inconsistent times and you're releasing the pressure at inconsistent times. So like, just to give you an example, so I think about it like, here, I'll share my screen. So like here in the healing module, right? We have you envision a heel box, like of what this looks like, right? So the key is when you're training the heel position, when the dog is out of position, the moment the dog is out of position, there is always pressure. Always. Pressure turns on immediately. Then, the moment the dog is back into the position, the pressure releases. And this happens consistently. Every single time the dog is out of position, there's pressure. Every time they're in, the pressure releases. And what happens is the dog stays in the position, right? Because it's clear of where they know exactly where they should be. But the thing where people mess up, and the reason why heeling is so hard, is because people have a hard time applying and releasing pressure. That's the hardest thing about heeling, right? It requires the most skill. You're learning how to use the leash. You're learning how much pressure to make, how little pressure to make. You're learning when to release the pressure and so on, right? There's a lot of skills involved in it. And so that's the problem though. It's your application and release. So what I have people in our community do is they record a video and then they post it in the community and then we review it. So we're like, oh, you need to hold the leash differently here. Oh, you see right here, you need to make pressure here. Oh, you see right here, he was in the heel box and you made pressure. Oh, you see right here, he was too wide and you didn't make pressure, you see? And then we get them to fix all of those things, and then they make an update, and then their dog is in the heel position. So that's basically it. Great stuff, by the way. School community covers play and developing play for older dogs too. Yeah, we've got a lot of people in the community who have like play threads. So like taking their dog from not being able to play at all to being able to play. Our golden retriever mix reacts strongly to street dogs while in the car. We live in Baja, Mexico. There's so many. She's less reactive while on the leash. Yeah, it's just a specific context that you need to punish the behavior, which is in the car, right? So if you can punish the behavior, if your dog is at the point in the training where you can use the e-collar to punish the behavior, then I do that in the car. But if they're not, then I'll utilize management inside the car. So I'll just have the dog in a crate, for example, to prevent them from rehearsing it. And then once we get to the point where I can punish the behavior, then I do that, right? How can I train my dog to come when I call her? We have a video on it. Watch our YouTube. Great, thanks. Do I use the intermittent pressure or continuous? I'm not sure. What was that question? I don't remember what your question was. But I can tell you typically what I'll do is I'll tap. The community covers developing and teaching play. Want to know how to develop older dogs with their play? Is it more in-depth than the YouTube videos? Deciding between this or Ivan's play course. If you just want play, I would join Ivan's if that's all you want. But if you want me to like review your play footage and stuff and you want feedback, then that's what the community is for, right? So it depends on how much, like if you just want a video, then buy Ivan's. But if you want feedback, then join the community. But yeah, it's usually like, I'll be completely honest, usually people know, especially like if you're a trainer, usually you know what to do, right? Like you know what to do. The information's all out there. It's just most of the time you might do it slightly wrong, but you don't realize it, right? Or there's something that you could do differently, but you don't have that thought yet. You know, you haven't seen that yet, right? And so I think the main value of the community is just the feedback element you get from everything. Like obviously it's laid out in a step-by-step format, so you just go through it in order, right? So it's not like YouTube where it's just like everywhere. But then I think the main benefit is feedback, right? Is you can ask questions along the way and get help. How much is it to join the community? It's $2,000. Yeah, because I think like the information is everywhere, right? I think the implementation of the information is the hardest part. Well, first knowing what information to follow, and then knowing how to implement it. Knowing what to follow, actually implementing the right information, and then doing it right. I think all those three things you need, right? My dog is very reactive to noise coming from outside the house. Once he heard people chatting, kids running, cars passing by, he won't stop barking until those noises go away. What can I do? You can punish the barking, and then you can reward him for being quiet. So it's kind of like the whole reactivity process, just in a different context inside the house. You should try to do a monthly membership. I don't want to do a monthly membership. I hate monthly membership. The reason why I don't do a monthly membership is because when people join on a monthly membership, they're looking to solve their problems fast. And I hate that. It's not good. It's not good for the dog. It's not good for the results. It's not good for the training. It's not good for anybody. And so everybody loses. The reason why I only do yearly memberships is because people commit for a longer timeline. Because what we're really doing here, if you actually want a dog who can do this, right? If you actually want a dog who can do this, if this is actually what you want, your whole lifestyle changes. Like, you don't just do this real quick in a month. It doesn't just happen in like, I'm just gonna do a little membership for 2 or 3 months, and then I'm gonna have this. Like, it does not work like that. What you're doing is you're uninstalling all of your bad habits, your bad patterns, everything. You're getting rid of all that. You're installing new habits and new patterns and building a completely new lifestyle with your dog. That's what's required if you want to achieve something like this. See what I'm saying? And so for the people who want monthly memberships, I don't want them in the program. They're not a good fit, right? Like, you're looking for the short-term solution, the short-term quick thing to implement, That's not what we do, right? We sell this. This is who the program is for. It's for people who want this, right? And so it's a completely different level. It's a different experience. And so by having people commit to that long-term horizon, we're able to get results like this, right? And so, yeah, that's why we do it like that. Agreed, but would be easier for payment? Yeah, I don't want that. Like, I don't want more people joining in, right? If I did a monthly membership, everybody would join. I don't want everybody to join. That's the key, right? If everybody joined, it wouldn't be good, right? We need to keep it tight. So it's only people who are very committed, willing to invest that upfront, which I know it's a lot, but there's a direct, it's not perfect, but there's a direct correlation between how much somebody invests upfront and how seriously they take the program. So that's why we do it like that. Yeah, it's like trying to get shredded in 1 month. It's kind of like joining a gym membership it's like having a monthly gym membership. It's kind of like that. It's like, if I'm a personal trainer, I don't want to work with you for a month. I don't even want you to train with me. But if you want to commit to training for a year, all right, let's get it. We can do something in a year. Like, we can do way more than you think in a year. You see what I'm saying? And so it attracts a person who has a long-term outlook on training, long-term, like willing to invest in it long-term. You get what I mean? And so that's why I do it like that. I just find that it attracts completely different types of people. Yeah, I went cheaper way with Shield Canine, but I'm sure I would have gotten way more getting yours. Yeah, I mean, listen, Haz is fantastic. I love Haz. I have all of his courses. Okay, I'm very, very thankful for Haz. He's taught me a lot about training, all right? So I'm not bashing anybody. But we have a lot of people from the community who came from Haz's program, right? And so it's just different. Like, Haz, obviously, it's pre-recorded videos. It's just videos that you're buying. With this, it's different. I'm not bashing, though. I always tell our members, like, I send a lot of people to go buy Haz's program, all right? I'm not bashing anybody. Rhea, the dog in this video, she actually started in Haz's program. Just came in to say that I love your videos and the detailed explanations is perfect for how I learn and hoping to save up for your course eventually. Awesome. Happy to hear that. I'm glad you like them. My personal Doberman is trained through TWC. Any thoughts on their trainer certification? Dude, they won't let me into their certification. I've applied. This is, again, I'm not saying anything bad about other trainers, but I've applied to TWC 3 different times, and all of my applications get automatically rejected. I'm like on a blacklist. Like they do not want me in the program. I think it's probably because I have a big YouTube audience and I share everything that I do. So they probably don't want me in, rightfully so, you know? I'm not mad at that. But what I am mad about though, is they charge $100 for every application and my applications get automatically rejected. And so, not calling it a scam, but that kind of sounds like a scam. But yeah, it's not Ivan, by the way. It's the guy who runs their thing. So that's my thoughts on that. Again, not hating on anyone. I have all of their online program, all of their online courses. I bought them all. I have all of TWC's online stuff. They do not want me in the certification program. I hate that you're so underrated. I kind of like it. It's always good being the underdog, right? Let's see, did I miss any questions here? How would you deal with the dog that goes crazy into prey mode in specific places where he knows there are animals, even when there is no animals in sight? I don't want to punish thought crimes. That is a great question. I can tell you what I do. So here, let me pull up so you guys all on this, you guys know Arrow. So this is Arrow's, hang on, let me hand off. All right, so when Arrow's new owner came down to Austin, his name's Justin. When he came down to Austin, we did a 5-day handoff session. His new owner Justin came down to Austin, stayed here, got an Airbnb, stayed in Austin for 5 days, and we met up every day to train. And I can tell you basically what I did with Arrow, right? So Arrow, for those of you guys who don't know, very high prey drive type dog, right? Really high prey drive, really intense. And like would run through 100 on the e-collar, you know what I'm saying? Like really intense prey drive. And so what I did was a couple things. So the first thing that I did was around wildlife. The first thing that I did was I suppressed the chasing. So I actually punished the chasing with the e-collar. I had to get the higher powered e-collar, but that I was able to suppress the wildlife chasing after like, oh my God, probably I had to punish it probably like 10 or 15 times to get like any type of suppression. So it was a lot. It was a lot. It was no joke. But yeah, once we got that out of the way and he was no longer chasing the wildlife, then the next thing that I did was obedience training. So real tight obedience training, right? And then I would do the obedience training around wildlife. So, dude, I wish I had on video, but there were some times, bro, like there were some times where this is like in the beginning of his training, where we were walking around the neighborhood and I'd walk around the neighborhood at nighttime, right? Because all the bunnies are out at nighttime. Hey, welcome in, Alineo. And all the bunnies are out at nighttime, right? And so I'd be walking around just like hunting for these bunnies, and then I'd release him, right? And then he found a bunny because he just points. He just like freezes and just like points at this bunny in somebody's yard, right? And then his tail is like straight up. And then what I do is I'll be like, heel, and then I just call him into a heel, and then he like frantically gets into the heel position, right? And then what I do is I make the healing. I was making the healing so fucking hard. Like I'm not even exaggerating. I was making this healing so hard. I would be like, I put him in the heel, and he's fully locked onto this bunny, right? But he's in the heel position. And then I would like I'm like running in the heel position, and I like hit the brakes. And then I'm like running in the heel position, hit the brakes, right turn, left turn, running, hit the brakes. Like I was making this so insanely hard. And if he got out of position, or if he broke the position, or if he missed the turn, or he missed whatever, big consequence came in on the e-collar when he broke the position, right? Now, after doing this for like, I don't know, a couple weeks, this dude, he was so good. Like, he would be locked in the heel position, like right at my side, but he would be 100% looking at the bunny. But he would not break the position. Like, even me doing all of that crazy shit, he would never break the position. And I was like, all right, bro, you win. You win. This is up to standards. Like, you're not doing anything wrong here. So that was the obedience part of it, right? And so I was like really proofing his ass too. I would release him and then down, release him, heel, release him, down, release him, down, release him, heel. Like, I was drilling his ass. And he'd hit it every time. And so I was like, all right, fair play. And then the next thing that I did, well, I kind of said it out of order, but after I suppressed the wildlife, I was really focused on just developing play, because you have to give it, like, if the dog is that prey driven, you have to give him an outlet to express that, right? And then what I would do is I would make control in the play. So when the dog is in drive and he's really intense and he's like locked onto the ball, right? So like, for example, if you watch any of the play videos that I made with him, I would make him anticipate, like I'd hold the ball like this, and then he'd point at it and his pupils dilate, and then I'd throw it, he explodes, right? And so what I'd do is I'd make control when he's in that state. So he's like fully locked on, oh my God, he's gonna throw it, down. And then I expect him to, boom, hit the down position, or come around and come around me, or come by and run around an object. Leave the ball and run around something else to get it. See what I mean? And so you're making control when the dog is in that state of mind. And that allows you to more easily make control when they are actually around bunnies and rabbits and squirrels or whatever and stuff like that, right? So yeah, that's basically that. Oh, another really good example of this is Murphy. Dude, Murphy is so this is Katie and Marissa and their dog Murphy, right? And dude, Murphy was so reactive to wildlife, bro. This guy, it doesn't look like it, but my God, this dude was so intense. Like, he would run straight through 100 on the Boss Educator, bro. That's the strongest e-collar that Mini Educator makes. And he would run straight through 100, straight through it, just to like go chase some birds. Like, he's just an absolute savage. Cool ass dog though. But anyways, yeah, they went through the training. And this dude loves wildlife, bro. It's like his favorite thing ever. But yeah, they went through everything. Let's see if I can get some good, like, I don't know, I'll just let this play. But they had to do a lot of that, by the way. Like, whenever they would go into any new environment, even like the neighborhood, he would just like 100%, just like running around, chasing, hunting stuff, even though there's nothing around. They had to do a lot of work. Basically, using obedience to cap his arousal, kind of like what I was doing with Arrow. You see, like, even here, he's still like super keyed into the environment, but not nearly as intense as he used to be. Man, he used to be so insane. But yeah, so it takes a lot of that type work, but you can do it. I loved Arrow's story. Glad he got adopted. Yeah, he's doing fantastic with Justin. How long did you have Arrow, and how much did you sell him for? I had him for like almost a year, and then let's see, we sold him for $2,000, I think is what Justin paid, and we gave him like everything. The money isn't like, it's irrelevant. I just wanted to make sure whoever got him was actually serious about training and like had the financial ability to invest in a dog. But we gave him everything, right? His impact crate, which that alone is like, what is it, like $800 or something? And then e-collars, leashes, gear, all of that stuff, right? Toys, all that. Rachel said, taught him how to use his peripherals. Yeah, Arrow got really good at using his peripheral vision. So like you can see even in this video, like just walking through the woods, like what they're doing here is they're strategically like putting Murphy in some obedience just to cap his arousal sometimes. So, he just gets like worked up, on his own, like just walking around, hunting through the woods. And so sometimes if they can see he's getting like a little bit up and aroused, they'll use obedience to strategically cap it, right? And you don't have to do this forever, but by practicing it again and again and again, what you see is the dog starts to be able to self-regulate their arousal better. So yeah, it takes a lot of work to get to this point though. Like Katie and Marissa did actually an absurd amount of work with this dog to get to that point. It's not easy. Similar to Arrow, my German Porter Husky mix has extremely high prey drive, very high e-collar tolerance. Having Arrow's story in your technique was extremely helpful. Need to make her obedience harder. Yeah, for sure. Hey, sometimes that's what you need to do. Thanks for your incredible content that you post. My sister's puppy, 1.5 year, has started to get reactive with mine, 1.5 year whenever they come over. Only happens inside. Outside, they play great. So yeah, have them outside. Have them interact and stuff outside first, like whenever they come over. Have the dogs meet outside. And then when they come inside, have a little bit of structure in the beginning. So when they come inside, you've been running around, whatever, playing, have them go to maybe separate areas, a place board or something like this, have them chill out and then release them. And then what you want to see is what's the exact contingency that's leading to this behavior. That way you can address it, right? Do you mentor trainers in your community if the dog training course is not their primary goal? Not necessarily. We have people in the community who have become trainers, but that's not necessarily what it's for. Maybe I'll do something like that in the future. How do you allow play and socialization while keeping boundaries? My dog is good 90% of the time, but recently has started humping and becoming overly persistent. I find a lead gets in the way. Yes, I mean, sometimes if it depends on where you're at training wise, right? So like if you don't have verbal control, like you're gonna need a leash, right? So you can make physical control. If your dog is a little bit more advanced in the training and they're on an e-collar, then you can use the e-collar, right? But it depends. If you're finished with the training, then you can just use your voice. You know what I mean? So it depends on where you're at training wise and what your dog is gonna be responsive to. You get what I mean? But typically, like if it's just like humping and stuff like that, I'll mark it with no and go correct the dog just with my hands. Like if they have a collar on or something like this. You don't necessarily need a tool. I feel less bad about using the e-collar high or relatively harsh correction when my girl tries to bolt across the street to get a squirrel. She's very intense. Yeah, I mean, yeah. This guy's actually crazy. You should get on my friend's podcast, The Doggy Stoic. He has Larry, J. Jack, and several other prominent trainers. You give out a lot of free game. I think that's Andrew, right? I met him at the Dylan Jones seminar. My Doberman uncharacteristically bolted across the street recently while walking off leash, hit him with e-collar, had me shook. He did that. Hey, you found a hole in your training, right? So, gotta proof it. Why did he do it? So, what was the thing that caused it? Can you recreate a similar situation in which that might be able to happen again? And then that way you can proof it, right? So thankfully nothing bad happened, but whenever you find a hole in your training like that, it's a sign that's the next thing you need to attack. My dog is scared of putting on a winter jacket. Is the answer counter conditioning? It can be. Counter conditioning. So counter conditioning is just changing what the association between the winter jacket and what happens. So if he thinks the winter jacket equals something bad, you can change it to think winter jacket equals something good. That's counter conditioning. Desensitization is a little bit different. Desensitization is just, he just wears the winter jacket. And then after a while, he just wears the winter jacket. It just is what it is, right? It's like him wearing a collar. It's like no different, right? He just gets used to it. And so, yeah. And then you can just have the winter jacket around, and then you can practice putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, putting it off, taking it off, putting it off. And then you practice him wearing it a little bit and moving around it, and then take it off, and then do it again and again and again and again, right? And then, yeah, habituation is just him wearing the thing all the time. And then he would just completely ignore it, right? When I put it on, she just doesn't move and cry. Yeah, that's what Orbit does. Like when we have like a, it's like a winter jacket vest thing for him. We put, and every time we put it on, he just gets like really stiff and he just doesn't move, right? He just freezes. And so that's very normal. Like he does that with anything, like with anything that he's unfamiliar with or anything that he just gets uncomfortable by it, like harnesses, vests, anything new, he just freezes. And so, yeah, what we did in the beginning is like you put it on and then you make him move. So you put it on and then we are walking outside now. Like we're on a leash, we are walking. Like you cannot just freeze. That's you just can't, right? We are walking. And so, yeah. And then the dog learns that they can walk with it on, which is important. I'm pretty sure he saw a rodent or something. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, you got to be careful with those. Sometimes they just pop out of the bushes. She defaults to heel, but I'll try it again. Yeah, so what you want to do is like put on the winter jacket, go outside, and then kick her out of the heel position. Like don't let her get in the heel position. Like if she's on the left side in the heel position, you step behind her and around her. So now she's on the right side and you kick her out. And then you make her go and like walk on the grass or whatever, How long is a reasonable time to expect a reactive dog's behavior to change? I can go to trainers tell me they can fix him in 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, like, if you know how to punish a behavior, you can fix reactivity like very fast, like very quickly. It doesn't take long, really. Yeah, like once the dog knows what they can't do and then they know what they can do, it's pretty quick, But the real question is like, what happens after that? What happens after? That's the real, that's the real thing, right? So like if you, like for example, and I think I'm going to kind of like change I think right now for our community, I think it's like too focused on like fixing reactivity type stuff. And so I think like we're attracting too many people who like just want to fix reactivity, and that's not good. It's not good. So I think I'm going to reposition it a little bit. Because really like if you watch the like if you go to our YouTube channel and you watch this video, like the 2-hour video, right? Shout out Andrew Huberman.
Important discoveries in the field of science and health over the last decade or so is the discovery that our gut health in particular.
Description. Most of the video is like most of the training happens after you eliminate the reactivity. Like punishing the behavior is like a very small part of it, right? It's a very important part, but it's like a very small part. It's not even, it is an important part, but it's not important if you don't do any of this other stuff after. You get what I mean? And so, yeah, I don't know. To answer your question, I would be, like if I'm working with a reactive dog, I'm going to minimum work with them for at least like 4 weeks, at least, probably like 5 weeks, right? Because after you fix the reactivity, you have to give the dog other things to do. Like that's your opportunity now. Because many dogs who are reactive, that's like literally the highlight of their life. I'm not even joking. Like it's actually the highlight. Like it's where they get to dump out all their arousal. It's the thing they look forward to most on the walk. Like it's peak. And so when you remove that, when you rip out that option, you've got to give the dog something else to do. You've got to change their outlook on life and change how they feel about the world and feel about the walk and feel about you as well. And that takes work and it takes time to change that, right? And so, yeah. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't sign up for a 2-week reactivity boot camp. I would not do that. Would you ever allow your dog to chase wildlife? Example, iguanas are everywhere in Florida, invasive species. Would you let them chase it? I would, depending on the dog. So like with Orbit, I could definitely do that. You know, now Orbit doesn't have like super high prey drive. Keep in mind, like he's a border collie. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. Like he likes to like kind of chase after it and control it. He's not trying to like on it. You know what I'm saying? But like with him, you could definitely do that, and you could control it very easily. Like you just put the wildlife reactivity on a cue, right? You allow him to chase it on a cue. You punish it when he tries to chase it, and you didn't give him permission. And so you make it very clear. Basically, it turns into like a game. But it depends on the dog. Like I could do that with Orbit, but I would not do that with Arrow. Like with Arrow, you pick one or the other. Are you gonna let him chase it, or do you just come in and suppress it? The reason I suppressed it with Arrow, even though I would have loved to allow him to go and chase after rabbits and stuff, it would have been his favorite thing ever. The reason why I suppressed it is because we lived in a busy area. Like there's roads and cars, and we're walking on the streets every day, and like bunnies just pop out of the bushes and run across the road. Like I need him to avoid chasing bunnies, and you can't get that avoidance if you allow him to chase it and you put it on a cue. You see what I mean? By avoidance, what I mean is like there was so many times where a bunny would run. I'm talking like a foot in front of him, 2 feet in front of him, pop out of nowhere, just run right in front. And when that happens, he jumps away from the bunny. He avoids it, right? That's what I want for this specific dog in this specific environment that he lives in. Because I knew that if I gave him to his next owners and he got hit by a car or something, that would be my fault because I didn't suppress it, and I should have. See what I mean? So I did it purely out of safety. So yeah, but if it was like a dog like Orbit or something, then you could easily put it on a cue. You get what I mean? So I'd say it depends. Depends on the dog, depends on your lifestyle situation, and it depends on what you want and what your goals are, and your risk profile as well. Ernest says, sometimes it's hard to figure out what's punishing. It's been 6 months and my dog's reactivity is better, but he's still suspicious of straying dogs. He's a GP though. Yeah, I mean, like, it depends. Like, you need to separate emotions from behaviors, right? So, like, if you go through the training process with him and you eliminate the barking, lunging, all of that stuff, but then he's still a little bit unsure around the other dogs, then you've got a few things you can do. Like, okay, should we maybe try to manufacture some positive interactions with other dogs and then see what happens? All right. Maybe we do that and we find that actually he just like doesn't really care about other dogs, which is fine. That's like how Orbit is. Like he doesn't really like with some dogs he might want to interact with, but like with many dogs, he's like, no, would rather not, he'd rather just hang out with me and play with me. You know what I mean? And so that's totally fine too. And so, yeah, it depends. He doesn't need to be super friendly with other dogs, but he does need to behave around other dogs, right? Process driven. I allow my Dobie to chase them only if I give him command. He loves it, but he knows he can't chase them without the command. He's not reactive to them either. Yeah, 100%. You can totally do that with dogs, and it's great. Like, if you can do that, again, if you got, I think it comes down to like whether or not it's like to chase or not to chase, right? Should you just fully suppress it or should you put it on a cue? I think it comes down to three things: your dog, your environment that you live in, and your risk profile. So your risk tolerance, right? I think those three things really should be the determining factor of whether or not you suppress it, right? That's what I tell our members in our community. Some people, they live in like a very rural area, always outside in the woods and stuff. And so like, they don't mind dog chasing squirrels and stuff like that, as long as they can call them off and they don't chase them without permission. That's like totally good. And so I think that's great. But like if you live in the city or something and like you're walking on streets every day type thing and your dog's got like wicked prey drive, then it's like, for me, that's not worth the risk, right? For me, it's not. Are you pro dog park? No. I mean, like, it's nuanced, right? Like, there's different types of dog parks everywhere. Like, there's some dog parks that are like, I didn't even know these were real, but there are some dog parks that are legitimately like tens to like 100 acres big. And they're just like these huge, like massive, like basically nature preserves almost that are like just designated for dogs. And so, and there's like nobody there, like they're not crowded at all. There's tons of space, tons of trails and like cool stuff. And that's pretty cool, I didn't even know those were a thing though. Now, when I think of dog park, like I'm thinking, like when we got Orbit, we were living in downtown Seattle, right? And so like that's what I'm thinking about when I think of dog park. I'm thinking of like downtown in the middle of all the buildings, 50 dogs in this tiny little thing at once. Everybody brings their dog here after work and like it's just chaos in there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like like there's a big range when it comes to dog parks, but yeah, I'm definitely not pro those dog parks. That's incredibly risky. I don't think people understand how risky that is. like it only takes one person bringing the dog that, I just got the dog from the shelter. I don't know anything about this dog. I'm pretty sure though, I'm supposed to take him to the dog park. That's like what I should do. It only takes one of those people to come in. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is incredibly risky. And so it's just, again, it comes down to your risk profile, your risk tolerance, and also your dog and all of that, right? But yeah, personally, I don't do that. Personally, I prefer to play with my dog. That's just me, right? And that's most of the people like in the community as well. Like most of the people in the community join because they want a really strong working relationship with their dog, right? Like most of the people in here, they've got like, an active lifestyle. Maybe they've got a more active dog and they want to get outside and like do cool shit with their dog. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, dog parks for most of them is like, why? Like what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Should I let my dog say hi to another dog if after the reactivity helper dog session, it made him super aroused after? Teaching my dog to play and have gone and really engaged. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends, right? So for example, there are times when that can be very effective. Like for example, you meet up with the helper dog, you do a little session, you go for a walk together or something like this, and then you allow a brief interaction just to see how your dog responds. And then maybe you notice that, they get really aroused after, and then you go for a walk again and they're side by side, allow a little brief interaction, and you see he recovers a lot faster. You see what I mean? And you do it again and he recovers even faster. Comes off when called, like instantly, right? And that's a very important practice. But there's also a time and a place to do no interactions. There's a time and a place for that, right? a really effective way to do that is just like going on a pack walk with some dogs, a couple friends who've got dogs, and you're just walking together. And in that particular session, we're not interacting with the other dogs at all, right? So it's a different, you're showing the dog multiple different pictures, right? One situation is we're around other dogs, we're doing stuff together, but you're not interacting with these other dogs. In the other situations, you're actually showing him how to interact with the other dog productively, right? And so both are important. It depends on your dog, and it depends on what would help him most. Teaching my dog to play and have gotten him really engaged. However, problem is bringing the toy back. How do I make him bring it back? I'm scared of pulling him and ruining the game. Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I think sometimes people are afraid to set boundaries in the play, but it's important, right? Because, okay, so just to answer your question very directly, what I will typically do is I will have the dog on a long line. Then I will, if your dog already likes to chase and catch the ball, good. Then what I'll do is I'll throw the ball. I will run after the ball. So I'm running forward. So I throw the ball, dog is chasing it, I'm running forward, dog catches it. The moment the dog catches the ball, I grab the long line and I call the dog. So the moment the dog grabs it, I grab the long line and I call the dog. Nice job, buddy. Come on, man. Let's go. Come on. And I'm calling him as I'm running backwards, right? And then if the dog just starts dilly-dallying and like standing there and like just starts chewing the ball or whatever, or whatever they do, right? Then as I'm running backwards, if the dog's just standing there, I will pop on the leash as I'm running backwards still. So it basically turns into like an informal recall in a way. And then once they get to me, then I give them what they want. So I reinforce them bringing the ball back. So whether that's giving them some affection, whether it's an out command and then throw it again, whatever it is they want. Yeah, but I start out with the leash. Will you release videos on other forms of dog enrichment? Sports like nose work, fly ball, or similar sports? No, because I don't do it, I just don't do it. Like I don't have anything against it. I think it's great. I just personally don't do it. And so I'm not going to make a video on it. Like what I do is pretty simple, guys. Like literally it's just like, it's like, just like basic, obedience training, get them off leash. Then we go on off leash walks every day and we play. Like it's very, very simple. You know what I mean? And then we teach them new stuff, for fun. And then that's like pretty much it. It's very simple. I don't do anything fancy, really. We took our pups to 1,000 Acres in Portland, which is like that. Huge open dog park in nature, lots of hiking trails, lots of other dogs. They had the best time. Yeah, I mean, like, hey, look, there's tons of different parks out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have this one member who lived by like 3 10+ acre dog parks. 3 of them. I was like, what? I was like, is this even real? But yeah, apparently they exist. And so, which is cool, And it depends, like, yeah, it's like, it's a very different situation than like, your little gravel, the ones that are just like gravel and like all the dogs just like piss and shit in there. And then there's like 50 dogs in there at like 6 p.m. after work. You know what I'm saying? Like those are crazy. But yeah, you can never catch me in there. What do you think of trainers using their dog to check a client's dog behavior? What do I think about it? What do I think about it? To check a client's dog behavior. I mean, can be useful if you want to see the dog's behavior around other dogs, right? Because I know like some sessions that I do, I'll bring Orbit out as a control dog, and then like I'll make him do a bunch of shit, and then you can use it to like basically model. But I think what you're asking for is like basically the trainers who, you come over and then the training is basically like your dog meets their dog. And that's like the training, For me, I don't particularly see the value in that because at the end of the day, like your dog isn't living with that dog. Like your dog lives with you in your home, in your neighborhood. So you kind of need to learn how to like work with your dog in that environment. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah. But I know some people like it. We did a session with the helper dog and it went well. However, at the end, he got pretty excited. It was really hard to pull him off. The helper dog didn't like my dog. Collar broke. Scary. That's not good. Check your gear. But it's important though too that you have good control of your dog before you do the session, right? So like, for instance, like, if your dog if the collar broke, they're probably pulling on the leash, right? Like you said, you had to pull him pretty hard off the helper dog. So it's a red flag, right? Hi, my 7-month-old Akita still mouths me in play. She's the first dog I've ever had to do that. Hasn't learned to by this age. She doesn't bite, but could escalate as she gets older. Probably not. She's probably just playing with you, with her mouth, as dogs do. Dogs naturally play with their mouth. It's very normal, right? If you don't want them to do it, you typically have to either direct that into something else, like a toy or something like that, and then what you'll see is the behavior fades over time, or that doesn't fade over time and your dog actually just continues mouthing you, in which case you have to come in and punish it. So, yeah. Do you have advice for off-leash dogs or weird people with dogs that suddenly approach? Dogs are weird people with dogs that suddenly approach. I try to get between the dogs since my dog will bite/defend against strange dogs who suddenly approach. Typically what I'll do is, it depends. It depends on the context, right? So because here's the thing. You don't need your dog to be friendly. Your dog doesn't need to be super friendly with every dog in person. But they do need to tolerate people and dogs. That's just life. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're just like chilling in the coffee shop and some person comes to go sit next to the table beside you and they decide they want to break the down and start barking at him or whatever, that's like unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, typically what it sounds like is you might need to come in and actually set that boundary and be like, hey, look, I know you're uncomfortable, but guess what? You can't just start snapping at other dogs just because you're uncomfortable. It's just not how it works. You see what I mean? And so, but again, it depends. Like if a dog is like constantly just like pestering, not leaving her alone, rushing straight up into her face, like, and she tells the other dog to back up, give me some space, warranted. You know what I mean? And so, depends on the context. True, it was a while back now, and I realized he might have not been ready for that. However, now he's a lot better. No pulling on the leash, no barking at dogs. Still excited though. What are some resources you use to learn about teaching off-leash? So if he's still excited, that's totally fine. You just need to work with the emotional response now, right? Like that's the case with Arrow. Like you could see, if you watch the Arrow reactivity video, like reactive to off-leash video, you could see like immediately after I punished his lunging, he's still excited. You know what I'm saying? So now you just have to work with that. What are some resources you use to learn about teaching off-leash with the e-collar? I've gotten into Larry Crone, but haven't bought his book. Yeah, so that got me into using it? Yeah, so I bought Larry's book, and then I joined Haz's program. And then that taught me pretty much everything I needed about the e-collar. Does the situation change if the dog is pestering my dog or rushing right in his face? Yeah, for sure. My behavior said that she thinks he's justified and I need to learn how to defend him better. Yeah, or you could let him. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It's a really hard question to answer just on a YouTube live, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's like, yeah, the question you want to ask yourself is like, who's in the wrong? Who's in the wrong? Were you snapping at like some nice little senior, lab coming up to you? Just the most chill dog on earth? Can't snap at that dog. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Or are you snapping at that dog who's like sprinting at you full throttle from across the park, like about to body slam into you? You know what I'm saying? Like it's very different. Do your dogs sleep on place overnight? If yes, how do you get them to stay on overnight? No, they don't. Orbit just sleeps in the room. So he has like a crate in the room. And he can sleep in it if he wants. Usually he does, but he can do whatever. Star Rocka says, thank you. I don't mind the nibbles. Nice. You're talking about the mouthing, right? Hey, you know who has a really good video on it was I don't remember his name. But it was like he has like I saw him on Instagram. He has like a golden retriever and so the owner, he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And then he has a golden retriever, and his whole Instagram account is him doing jiu-jitsu with his golden retriever. And it's great. I love his account. And it's a really good example of how play doesn't just have to be, like fetch or tug. It can also be just like this personal wrestle styling play. And you can see like the dog, he's mouthing him and all that stuff. And they're putting each other in headlocks and he's using his paws and his mouth and like all that. It's really good. They have a really nice play relationship. But yeah, so I'd say if you don't mind the nibbles, totally fine. All right, guys, I think that's all I can do for today. I've got some stuff to do right now. Got some work that I need to get done. So thanks for hopping on this call, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.